Thank you for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Bill. I'm here with my good friend, Rabbi Yossi Harlig. Welcome, Rabbi. Thank you very much for being here.
Always an honor. It's special to come and to be with you.
So you had some great event happened the other day. All right. So tell us about Friendship Circle and Chabad of Kendall and Pinecrest. So go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, I've sat on the show many times to tell you that one day we're going to soon open up our Friendship Campus, which on December 8th, I know you were up in Orlando that day getting an award or you were nominated. We'll talk about that a little later for something. But it was amazing.
We have it right up there now.
Oh, we have a screen. Oh, perfect. Yeah. So that day we had the whole community. It was, I'll be honest with you, when Necham and I planned this day, we thought 300-400 people were going to be there. Over 1,000 people came to this event.
A tribute to your wife's
It was amazing to see so many people that used to live in our community, that moved to Aventura, to Hollywood, came down to be here that day. People from our community. Remember, this is a campus for Chabad of Kendall, which we started in August of '95. And there were like hundreds and thousands of people have been through our programs of Chabad, classes, prayers, bar mitzvah, and then the Friendship Circle that we're running since 2004, where, hundreds of families have been impacted. And what was so inspiring to Necham and I is like seeing over 1,000 people come that day for the grand opening, all the people that have been impacted by this organizations, and all the people that were excited that this campus is opening and knowing how their lives are going to be impacted in a positive way.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the Friendship Circle.
Right. So Friendship Circle is an organization that I'm looking at, you see the kids on the screen. We have our donors here on it, and we have the children here. This is when we put up the mezuzah on the front door. Yeah, we're running commentator of the video. These are some of our donors and supporters. So first we cut the ribbon in the front, and you see the mayor is here and some of our top donors, and our Speaker of the House, Danny Perez, was there cutting the ribbon, and then the community came in, to see it.
So this is sort of one structure.
Correct.
And the two buildings.
Right.
They're connected, and in one part of it there's the religious services, but there's this interaction.
Correct. So basically, it's really a lot of the rooms we build in a way that we can use for both organizations, because when we run Chabad, we're not running Friendship Circle. We run Friendship Circle, we're not running Chabad. Friendship Circle is an organization that teams up typical kids with special needs kids. That's where I would say separates our programs from others. There are a lot of great programs where children on the spectrum have somewhere to go to get the services, but there's no program where they go and they have a friend with them.
I think there's a huge life lesson in how, in your life, Friendship Circle started coming into your life. So why don't you tell the folks about the original thought about volunteers and how that migrated to Friendship Circle?
Yeah, so in 2002 and 2003, we were just down here already 6-7 years, and we were trying to find a program that will engage Jewish teenagers. Telling them to come to Bible study, it was not the most popular thing. Maybe when you were growing up telling someone Bible study, it's exciking. Was it exciting when you grew up?
It was, yes.
Yes. But now, see, come study Bible, nobody is interested. But we said, how do we get them involved that they could feel engaged?
Friendship Circle is not in the picture at this point.
At this point, not in the picture. So I overheard we have a close friend that lives in Michigan, and he said, I just started this program that teams up teenage volunteers with special needs kids. He met his parent that his child with special needs was sitting in his home all alone, and then he knows another family that have a teenage volunteer that is sitting home all day feeling depressed and down. He says, why don't you come together, both of you come together and really help each other. Here the teenage volunteer has what to do. The child with special needs has a friend. Let's put it together. I said, oh, great. In our community, people need community service. Why don't we start a program with that teenage volunteers can get community service with special needs? At that time, I didn't know anything about special needs. So we started meeting the Jewish teenagers and said, you want to help us with this program? We want to start. The first few parents reminded me when they came to the grand opening now that you came to our living room, and we said, nah, my kid is not interested. And it was the first year or two, we barely had 10 teenagers. And we didn't know anything about special needs world. What happened was we started learning about the special needs world, and after a little while, we were only servicing then Jewish special needs kids. After a few years, teenagers were interested in it because they saw the impact it had on them. But then we needed more special needs kids on the spectrum, so then we opened it up to the community. And then we started learning about the special needs world. And then it kind of it flipped around, and we became one of the leading organizations for the special needs world. So it really came from another place. But it really came from a place, you know what's interesting? You want to help. You want to make a difference. If you have that in your heart, God will find you the right path for the things that you need to do.
And just to make it clear, because I think it's a life lesson, you were trying to develop something, a program where kids could contribute at the synagogue, where they could donate their time. And then you were looking around, and all of a sudden, bingo, there's this thing called Friendship Circle. What year was that, more or less?
2004.
So here it
Just
is.
started. Now they have 100 chapters. There's only 1 or 2 chapters then.
So here it is, 20 years later. 10 years, you were at least 10 years in the works with Friendship Circle before this. When did you start Friendship Circle?
We started Friendship Circle in 2004 as a pilot program.
Yep.
That's when we started. So it's 20
So
years.
now here it is. The organization is known throughout the county, and it's a tribute to you when so many people showed up last Sunday. And I know my brother was there. He said the people just kept arriving and kept coming and over. And
Put it this way,
over.
we have across the street this empty lot the county owns that you could use for renting the parking space. It's like 5 acres or 4 acres or whatever. We ran out of space. Too many cars.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so on the campus, you have this 20,000-foot building. You have parking for about 70 cars on the
Yes,
property.
correct.
And you offer programs for Friendship Circle clients. How many days a week?
Now, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every day except Friday night, but every day of the week, and except Friday night and Saturday, Sunday through Thursday.
And think back, many years ago, you have a staff now, you have a board of directors.
Yes.
They make sure everybody behaves and fulfills the mission. But share with us what the mission of Friendship Circle is.
The mission is that every child in the community, every family in the community that God blessed them to have a child on the spectrum, neurodivergent as they use the term now, should know that we have a community that's there not only giving you advice, but holding your hand, guiding you, inspiring you, and being there for you in a very real way. Let's say next week, right? What do you do next week when your child, it's New Year's, you want to enjoy the week, and your kid is home. So we open up when things are closed. So, or Martin Luther King Day, or different Veterans Day, or a few days before Thanksgiving. All the schools closed down. So we're in the front line there for families, and we build beautiful rooms, art room, music room, life skills rooms that kids can make birthday parties. There is so much the kids could do in the heart of our community, in the heart of South Dade.
So I heard Raquel Regalado, she was here not too long ago, and she said something that was so profound. It was just to this day, and she said, the people that are neurodivergent, they deserve a seat at the table.
100%. She's been tremendous.
And it's like when she said that, I went, wow. And I've repeated that one way or the other to that point. Everybody deserves a chance. And certainly you and your team have been able to provide that. And there's going to be, at some point, thousands of families that are going to be affected by the service that you provide. It's really a tribute to you. Well, actually, to your wife.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a big issue now that the county has to realize is that the kids who age out of the system, the 21, what are they going to do now? And that's a big worry for parents. This Casa Familia, I'm sure you heard about it. They're building a place for kids to live. What are they going to do by day? I'm a believer. We raised $12 million for a $16 million campaign. We have a responsibility to make sure this campus is going to continue to impact people's lives. So I always say, now that we open the campus, we have a greater responsibility to make sure that we're doing even more for the community. So we have plans for a lot of different things to start once the doors open. Hopefully we'll move on in the next few weeks.
So if you will, you cut the ribbon a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Are there classes, services?
Not yet. We're still dealing with some technical things. So hopefully the goal is sometime in January to move on.
So like within a month, you're going to be there.
God willing, yes.
So what's it like for you and your family and the original team that had this idea, hey, let's go ahead and do that? And they all looked at you with cock eyes going, what's he up to now?
I'm a general person that doesn't get very emotional, to be honest. I did not expect that emotion on that day when we were opening the campus because, I was thinking 300-400, but then you show up. There were people who were crying on the campus. They couldn't talk. they were so moved because they've heard about it for like 10 years, 5 years, 20 years. They've seen it from the beginning. They saw it starting from my home to a storefront. I'm telling you, we had people crying on the campus of emotion, of happiness. That part I didn't expect. It was very emotional.
So when you were young, at some point you were, right? Did you understand the drive that you had?
Not really, no.
So when did it start like coming to fruition? Where you said, hey,
I get my personality, good or bad, is I get excited and inspired and driven when there's something new to do, something to always push the envelope, to get out of your comfort zone. I don't like the day-to-day things. I hire other people, you do it. To me, I look at opportunities. I was speaking to another rabbi. He tells me, Rabbi, I'll be honest with you, I'm not envious of you because every time I go on your campus, when I see it, I just think of bills. I just think of mortgages. And to me, this excites me because it's the opportunity. Like you know, people say, I raise money. It's not the money that really interests me. It's what I could do with the money. Some people you speak to organizations, yeah, we got $5 million in the bank and all that. I said, I don't have a bank. I have mortgages, I have loans. I said, to me, money is about doing programs, changing people's lives. And some people can handle it, some people can't. Some people get annoyed. Rabbi, you're doing this, you're doing that. Don't you have to be, you have to make sure that there's money put away for the next 5 years? I said, I can't think that way. If I think that way, I'm not going to build anything. Rabbi, what's the budget? I said, if you start putting me in a box, this is not who I am.
So I watch a lot of shows, and there's some groups that say, don't have any debt. And the other guys say, a lot of them, go get a piece of property, let it appreciate, go borrow the money, all right, and go buy another piece. So you have people on both ends of that. The ones that are very, very conservative that say no debt, and the others say, no, if you want to move forward, you're going to have to use other people's money to move forward to get the things.
I had no money when we bought any of the properties. We got a loan from the bank. So I don't know why I said it. It was Northern Trust Bank, true story. And I'm sitting there, they're giving me the mortgage. We didn't have any money. And I tell them, someone asked me, I don't know why I said it, but I said it at closing. I said, someone asked me, are you nervous about the mortgage? I said, I have nothing to be nervous. The bank has what to be nervous about. True story. Thank God, always paid the mortgage on time, always paid the bills. Listen, I'm not going to take a big risk and put myself in danger. But I believe you got to move forward. You got to be ahead of it. You got to be comfortable taking responsible risks. But more importantly, you got to think about the lives that you have to impact. And then you'll figure out a way to get the money. That never scared me.
So one of the reasons for doing all that stuff was to be able to provide the service
100%.
That was so important to you.
Correct.
And so these were the parents, aunts and uncles, and brothers and sisters, and even the youngsters themselves. They were all there looking at the potential of what lays ahead for the next number of years. So the kids that were there, the clients, what are
kids, the participants.
The participants, when they were there, do they have big smiles on their face, running around, running in the different rooms, and seeing all the different options for them?
Absolutely. And the parents were so moved that we built. I mean, you didn't get a tour yet. You got to tell me when you're ready to come. High ceilings, beautiful rooms, state of the art. It was important for us to say, because a lot of times you go to programs, I'm not picking up places, and nonprofits mean well, and they do a great job, but they do the best they can. They put a little bit of carpet down, it's low ceilings. I said, no. This community needs to be treated with respect and honor and build something beautiful that when they walk in, wow, we have a beautiful place for our community. That was important for me.
And let's talk about some of the kids that went to the local high schools that spent their time, many of them for many years, helping in the Friendship Circle in prior years. So tell us about them and what their experience did for them and for the parents of the kids.
It's interesting. A lot of people tell me there's a part of Friendship Circle that's not really discussed is the volunteers, which is maybe more important than anything else. We're going to, one of our rooms with the volunteer lounge, we're going to have on the wall a name of every volunteer that ever volunteered for us, their name on it. There's 1,384 volunteers that volunteered for it. Everyone, if you interview them, they'll tell you across the board that this has impacted their lives in a way that because through this program, they learned giving back. They learned about the special needs world. They learned about empathy. They learned about to be thankful for what they have in their life. They learned about being advocates of special needs. It brought both worlds together like there's no other program.
And so often that stays with that volunteer for their entire lives, and then they share it.
You know, I used the example, tomorrow night starts the holiday of Hanukkah, which is, you know, people say, oh, this year Hanukkah is late, this year Hanukkah is early. And Hanukkah is the same time every year. In the Hebrew calendar, 25th day of Kislev. It's not late or not early. Some people like to say that. But what is Hanukkah about? You light a candle at night and illuminates the darkness. Our volunteers are like the menorah on the Hanukkah candles. That they go to a place that's dark, that's challenging, where kids feel they're not accepted, they're not loved, they're judged for who they are. And they bring the light there through love and friendship that you can't buy it anywhere else.
What is it about the light of a fire or of a candle that so intrigues us on a really deep level? What is it that we do internally that it's all telling?
You know, it's interesting. If you see in Jewish mysticism, it will say the closest physical thing that's spiritual, or the most spiritual thing that's physical, is fire. Fire continues, always wants to go up, right? The wick holds it down. Fire is something that can go through anything. When someone passes away, what do you light? You light a candle. It represents our soul. It's something that is very soulful, and a fire is really something that represents something spiritual.
And we also see when we see the fires out in California, they're out of control. It burns the land to the ground. And 3 months later, the trees and the bushes are all coming back. Tell me about that connection to Judaism.
About the fire, yes. Because in Judaism, one of the things that we always believe is that a person has the power, even if something negative happens, even if something gets destroyed, we always believe you get back up and you can rebuild and make it even greater. And we actually, to me, the character of the Torah that's the most inspirational for me personally is Joseph. Joseph, in very short, 11 years old, his mother died. His brothers, when he was 17 years old, sold him. He ended up in Egypt. He was put in prison for something that he wasn't supposed to go to prison for. And then when he was in prison, it's the Bible, the Torah tells us that he was successful. And he was changing people in prison, and he inspired people in prison to the point that he translated the dreams. And that eventually led to him coming out and becoming the viceroy of Egypt. But it taught us that someone at the lowest point of his life, yet was still doing the right thing and was able to change the world. A lot of times in life, we try to think to ourselves, what was the period of life when they had the most success? And if you look back at your life, a lot of times they do a story of a guy that won the World Series and say, oh yeah, he grew up in the back streets of Dominican Republic in Brazil. And then he grew up with a mother that was on drugs and a father that was in jail. And now the pinnacle is him winning the World Series or whatever, the World Cup. But you never say the lowest point of your life is actually the time you had the most success. And here Joseph, they're telling us, when he was in prison, that was most successful. And it teaches us sometimes the darkest moments of our life, we all have challenges. Everybody has challenges, Michael. Everybody. It can be personal, mentally, emotionally, your kids, your spouse, your financial. And you look at your life, and you're going through a very dark period of your life. But sometimes the greatest successes you'll have is doing the right thing in the darkest point of your life. It can have the greatest impact. And that's another message of Hanukkah, and that's a message of Friendship Circle, is bringing the light in a darker place. And even if the trees burn, you can rebuild it and make it even nicer.
So one of the uncomfortable things that's been continuing to happen across the globe is anti-Semitism. Why is it that it seems to continue and to be so random in the sense of like, they'll pick Jewish places to do it, but it's not as though that there would seem to be any big reason other than they just wanted to create grief. Tell us about that and what it does for you and people that you know. What happens inside?
Right, so listen, I see since October 7th, we've seen a very dark part of the world. If you're talking about what Hamas did across the border and killed and raped and did all the stuff, which I don't even want to repeat now, of 1,200, 1,300 victims, you expect them to want to do that. You're shocked they could pull it off. But the next day, a day or two later, the demonstrations all over the world, pro-Hamas, that was like, we're not talking about 1945 Germany, Poland. We're talking about America and all over the world. That to the Jewish world was a big wake-up call, like, what's going on over here? We thought this is gone. So it was very painful to see, and it was, a lot of it is misinformation, and a lot of it is pure anti-Semitism, but it did wake up the Jewish world, I find, to be more committed and more dedicated and more proud to be Jewish.
So when that happens, there's no surprise for you.
No.
It's just, it's like, it just is a continuation of what's been going on for
But I want to tell you a positive story. We had our wires cut on our
when the
campus.
building was under
Yeah,
construction.
yeah. We have a lady on our board. She's not Jewish. She's Christian. She came to me so shocked and shook up because we thought it was anti-Semitism. And she never experienced anti-Semitism before, but she's involved with the friendship circle. Her name is Stacy. So she was real shook up. She grew up in Kentucky. She didn't even grow up with Jewish people. She came to me and she asked me, what is the loss of this damage? I said, listen, I have insurance. It's going to take us a little while to collect it. Hopefully they'll collect it. But right now it's about $250,000. We have to rewire the buildings. The next day, she brings me a card, and her daughter's in our program. They do darkness, we do light, and she wrote me a check of $250,000. And she said, she's not Jewish. She says, when the Jewish community gets hit, we have to stand up and say, we're not going to stop.
So you probably experienced a lot of those things, but at that moment when it's so personal to you, and what it meant as far as opening the center, what were you thinking and feeling at that point?
You talking when we opened the campus?
No, when they cut the wires and somebody came and said, "I'm sorry for the damage," and here's the money.
So over the last year, I've heard negative comments when I walked on Killia, free Palestine, and go back to the gas chambers. Even someone screamed one time I was walking. But then you see the stories of Stacy and the police and a lot of people who were very supportive. I've had more positive comments than negative comments. So to me, as dark as we see, dark and negative stories, I've seen a lot of beautiful, loving people come to me, continue going strong, being Jewish.
And I may be naive, but when I see these anti-Semitic activities, it seems for the people that are not anti-Semitic that they are standing up a little more often than before. Right. Am I just imagining that, or is that accurate?
You mean standing up against anti-Semitism?
Yes.
Yeah, you do see that. There are people that are very disgusted by that and make their comments how wrong it is and how terrible it is. And there's unfortunately, a lot of misinformation that people don't understand, that Israel is really fighting the holy work, not just for Israel, but for the world.
Yes, and I agree with that. There's a show where this gentleman traces back somebody's ancestry, and they usually do it with famous people. And every once in a while, somebody will say, "And you're part Jewish." There's a smile that goes on their face. It's just like, wait a second. And I just start laughing. I point, Susan, listen, somebody proud that they are, 2% or 3% Jewish, right? What is it that's allowing people to accept their ancestry a little bit more? Is it just my observation, or is there something?
I think when you're challenged and you push to the wall, it brings out, it's like you take an olive, you squeeze it, the oil comes out. So when look throughout history, when the Jews when we live comfortable, then we say, okay, let's not shake the bubble. When you get challenged, then you're even more, brings a deeper part of your soul out, and it reveals it. It's interesting. We're putting up signs on the campus, and we have to get permits to put up signs on 87th Avenue. And we want to write the word Chabad Jewish Outreach. And the lady who's helping us with design, you sure you want to write the word Jewish? I said 100%. If we have to hide who we are, then we got a big problem. I would never hide my identity. And
that strikes deep. And when you think about it and you go, well, it might be, no, it's not. It would be worse, because then you're suffering internally. Sure. And then you suffer it with everything that
you do. Last night we put the menorah up on the corner, light up. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. This is a beautiful thing. Listen, you talk about Friendship Circle. Friendship Circle is a program that serves most of the kids who serve not Jewish. It is religious affiliation with Chabad, and we tell the world that we as a Jewish community feel a responsibility to help everyone.
So we have about 5 minutes left. Lorenzo's 2 minutes left. He's going to throw us out of here. About 20 years ago, Susan and I took a class. It was called...
By the way, where did you pick the 25 minutes as the right amount of time to talk? Where did you come up with that number? I'm just curious.
We just make it up as we go along.
Is there like a study you did?
Actually, when we do 2, then we can take a 10-minute break.
Is that true? Where did you come up with this number?
Right. So we took this class called the Course of Miracles. After about 6 weeks, I said to Susan, I think it's a religious class. And then I said, and I think I got it. And then my brain says, if you think you got it, how much of it do you think you got? And so as we pursue our life and wonder, right, every time we get an answer about this whole process, then there's next questions. And I know you're on that journey and sharing that with a lot of people. So I want to thank you for doing that.
Yes.
And for your great efforts and for your being so
We
kind.
got to do a shout out for Hanukkah. So tomorrow night starts Hanukkah.
Yes.
8 nights. Tonight, 8 Wednesday night, the first night, and then every night, the second, third, fourth. We at Chabad of Kendall doing a few programs on our campus.
Okay.
Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, there's going to be a great family program. There's going to be Hanukkah Geld, lining menorahs, jelly donuts, latkes, a great show. And then Sunday night, we're doing Hanukkah at the Falls Shopping Center. Hopefully you join us at the stage area also at 5 p.m. And then Saturday night, we have a special program. But hopefully you'll join us either Wednesday night, tomorrow night, or Sunday night, or both. Wednesday night on our campus, 87 to 112th. Sunday night at the Falls Shopping Center.
Okay, thank you for that. And as I've heard so often, I'm going to turn it on. Rabbi Yossi Harlig, you belong here.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for everything.
Thanks for the show.
My blessings here. And again, folks, thank you for joining us. Remember, take care of yourselves and your family. Have a great day. Bye now.